Jedi, yeah, crown me king, tell them Peter.
Shalom, and welcome to another edition here on the Genesis 49ers page, where we say no to vague interpretation and we give thorough breakdowns.
Shalom, back again, but never moving backwards, here to put Israel on the atlas. Y'all know the slogan. We say no to vague interpretations and we give thorough breakdowns. Today we have a special topic because we know we're in the month of November, and this usually is the month of Thanksgiving where the American culture tells you to celebrate the decimation and destruction of the Native Indians, or what we call Native Indians, who really are the First Nationers. I believe that's a more appropriate term for them because they were the First Nationers. My descendants go back to the Mexican Indians. We were the first ones to inhabit Mexico. The North American Indians, quote unquote, because that word Indians goes back to the word Indios, which means servant, and we know that they were the people who discovered the land. We discovered this land. This is our land. So instead of celebrating that madness, we're here to educate our North American Indian brothers. I know that name is really derogatory, so I'm only using it for educational purposes. Today's topic is going to be based around James Adair, History of the American Indians. Now, about a year ago, I read this book, and I wanted to do a review on it. So I got rid of my old channel, started Genesis 49ers. I was like, okay, I'm still going to do the review. Then I thought about it. Why not do a highlight, basically like a highlight reel of this book, and give you the best of the book? And a lot of my slides will be focused on the most comparative, the comparative studies that he put in his book to show the similar attributes of the Native Indians to the Hebraic customs. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to show you these different pages that come directly out of his book to show you that these Native Indians had Hebraic customs. Now, before we even get into the video, I don't want all the people that's Afrocentric to jump on my channel saying, oh, these people are not Israelites. But if I did the same thing for the West African tribes, you would be on the bandwagon and you'd be on the comment talking about shalom, brother, good teaching. This, all praises, you're in the spirit. I don't want that. You have to be unbiased. If I show you customs for the West African tribes, for the Fulani, for the Igbo, the Yoruba, etc., if I show you customs for them and show you that they're Hebraic, why can't you have the same respect for these Native Indians? So let's get right into it. First slide, we want to deal with credence because we want to show you the credentials of James Adair. He is an authority of this Native Indian history because what? He lived amongst these people and traded amongst these different tribes for some time. It says in the South Carolina Gazette of September 7, 1769, which I believe was 6 years before the book was actually published in England, it was said, an account of the origin of the primitive inhabitants and a history of those numerous warlike Indians situated to the westward of Charlestown are subjects hereto, unattempted by any pen. Such an attempt has been made by Mr. James Adair, a gentleman who has been conversant among the Cherokees, Chickasaws, Choctaws, etc. for 30-odd years past. And the history of American Indians, of course, we're going to be in this book, the whole presentation. Page 19 in the introduction part of the book, in the preface part. So we can see that he has the credentials. We can give him the credence because he lived amongst these people and observed their way of life. And observed other traders that have been amongst the Indians for some time and taken upon their accounts of what they witnessed, firsthand witness of these Native Indians and their customs and their traits and their rights. Yom Kippur, okay, the day of fasting, right, the day of atonement. It says they forgive all the crimes at the annual atonement of sins except murder, which is always punished with death. And this is History of American Indians, of course, page 157, Leviticus 23, verse 28. And ye shall do no work in the same day, for it is the day of atonement to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. refuge. According to the same particular divine law of mercy, each of these Indian nations have either a house or town of refuge, which is a sure asylum to protect a manslayer or the unfortunate captive if they can once enter into it. History of the American Indians, page 165. So they had places of refuge. Now, that's completely Hebraic, because you go to Numbers 35, verse 6, and it says, "And among the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge, which ye shall appoint for the manslayer, that he may flee thither. And to them ye shall add 42 cities." So there was 42 cities made for the manslayer, or a city of refuge. So if you accidentally killed someone, manslaughter, right? You accidentally killed someone, you could flee to these cities so the family of the victim would not come after you and put you to death. That's in the scriptures. The native Indians kept that custom. And how do we know? Because James Adair lived amongst them 30 odd years, around 40 years, observing these things. Next slide. Seed. It says that the surviving brother by the Mosaic law was to raise seed to a deceased brother who left a widow childless, to perpetuate his name and family, and inherit his goods and estate, or be degraded. And if the issue he begat was a male child, it assumed the name of the deceased. The Indian customs looks the very same way, yet it is in this as in their law of blood, the eldest brother can redeem. History of American Indians, page 198. Now, that's the native Indian custom. They kept it. Deuteronomy 25, verses 5 through 6. It says, "If brethren dwell together and one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel." The native Indians kept this custom as well. So you can see that these Indians or First Nationers have these customs and these rites and these rituals that are clearly Hebraic. We can clearly draw these parallels. Sea News, and this is one of the most isolated ones, because where else could they have gotten this law about the Sea News? We're going to read it. It says that they also cut a piece out of the thigh of every deer they kill and throw it away, and reckon it as such a dangerous pollution to eat it. History of the American Indians, page 145. Genesis 32 and 32. This is a very particular law. How did these Indians, which a lot of Edomites would call savages, how did they come across this law? How did they learn this law? They had to be the people of the book. They have to be of the tribes, as we subscribe to them being of the tribe of Gad, some being of the tribe of Reuben. Genesis 32, verse 32. "Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and the sinew that shrank." So that was a custom of our people, not to eat the hollow of the thigh. The native Indians were keeping that custom, observed by James Adair. They kept it. That's very particular. You can't say they got that from anyone else but the nation of Israel, because they are the Israelites. Point blank. Again, for the brothers that push Lashwan Kodash, I just want to make a disclaimer. I do not support Lashwan Kodash. I think it's a very poorly constructed language. But I just put this in here for the brothers that do advocate for that. It's Yahweh Shai. I'm going to show you that language or that wording, it's not too far off, right? It says that when the Indians meet at night to gladden and unite their hearts before Yehovah, they sing Yehovah Shu, Yehovah Shu. Yehovah Shi, Yehovah Shi, and Yehovah Shah, Yehovah Shah. So they do put the I at the end of the word. It says Yehovah Shah with much energy. The first word is nearly in Hebrew characters the name Joshua or Savior. Numbers 8 and 8. The history of the Indians, American Indians, page 120. You can see the Strong's concordance to the right. It says Yehoshua or Yahweh Shai or Yehovah Shai or however you pronounce it. The Lord is salvation. Moses' successor, also the name of a number of Israelites. So you can see Strong's H30 and 91. So that is a way to spell it with the I on the end of it. Yohewashai. Yohewashai. That's how the Native Indians would express that word. Blood. It says the Indians have among them the resemblance of the Jewish sin offering and trespass offering, for they commonly pull their new killed venison before they dress it several times through the smoke and flame of the fire, both by the way of sacrifice and to consume the blood or animal spirits of the beast, which with them would be a most horrid abomination to eat. The History of American Indians, page 123, Leviticus 7, verse 26. Moreover, you shall eat no manner of blood, whether it be of fowl or of any beast in any of your dwellings. So they were keeping the custom of making sure they would not eat the blood of their kill or the animal, right? That is a custom of the Hebrews. So we're just going down the line here. That's why I love this book. It has a lot of the customs observed and recorded by James Adair, and you can see the similarities between the Hebraic customs and the Native Indian customs. The next one is the Sabbath. It says the number and regular periods of the Indian public religious feasts, of which presently is a good historical proof that they counted time by and observed a weekly Sabbath long after their arrival on the American continent. The History of the American Indian, page 79. Exodus 20 and 8, I believe all of my viewers should know this. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. So there's evidence amongst them. And even today, the Cherokees expounded on the fact that they always kept the 7-day Sabbath. Kenai. There was about 30 years ago a remnant of a nation or subdivided tribe of Indians called Kenai, which resembles the Hebrew proper name Canaan or Chanununa. The History of American Indians, page 67. Strong's Concordance, Kenai to be humble, right? And Kenai is also the Aramaic form of Canaan. The land of Kenai is what you'll reference that land as in the Aramaic tongue. Strong's H3665. Fire. It says the dreadful day would soon come of which Loak Ishtohulu would send Puchik Kera Ishtu, the great blazing star, Yakin Ekalena Loek Lokchachi, to burn up half the earth with fire, and Farimi Ayubi from the north to the south, Hasi Oiba Pera toward the setting of the sun. And that's the History of the American Indians, page 94. And we have to the right a scripture that correlates with that, Isaiah 24, verses 5 through 6, which states, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. So you can clearly see that the Native Indians taught that this earth will be burned with fire, that as a final judgment of the Most High. The same thing we find in the scriptures under Isaiah. China. Let's deal with this real quick, because a lot of people have been forced down their throats as a child here in America to learn that, oh, the Native Indians are Chinese. The Native Indians come through the Bering Strait from the land bridge that connects to Alaska, which supports that Mongoloid thesis. First of all, Mongoloid, that's made up jargon by Blumenbach. Just like African is Neger and Neger is African. That's all made up jargon by Blumenbach. So first of all, we got to discard that. But how they Mongoloids, if they didn't even come from that continent? Majority of the oral traditions by the Native Indian and written traditions state they came on ships from the east. It says nothing about them walking on a land bridge or an ice bridge connecting Alaska and Russia. Some have supposed the Americans to be descended from the Chinese, but neither their religion, laws, customs agree in the least with those of the Chinese, which sufficiently proves they are not of that line. The History of the American Indians, page 13. And to the right, I have another source to back up what James Adair was conveying to his audience. The Shawnee Traditions of Indian Origins, from Indian Tribes of the United States by Henry R. Schoolcraft, 1847. Page 255, it says the Shawnees lived in western Ohio and mingled with the Miamis and the Delawares of Indiana. They had a tradition of having crossed a great sea and annually for many years offered sacrifices for their safe deliverance. The following story is characteristic of the class of stories of creation common to these Western Indians. So they always say they came across the sea. They didn't cross no land bridge. They didn't cross a land bridge. They came here on ships. That kills the Bering Strait theory and that kills that Mongoloid thesis. Readings in Indiana History by Indiana State Teachers, page 30 is where that source can be found. Again, that kills two theories with one stone. Swift. The men are expert in the use of firearms and in shooting the bow and throwing the feathered dart and tomahawk into the flying enemy. They resemble the lynx with their sharp penetrating black eyes and are exceedingly swift of foot, especially in a long chase. They will stretch away through the rough woods by the bear track for 200 or 300 miles in pursuit of a flying enemy, with the continued speed and eagerness of a stanch pack of bloodhounds till they shed blood. The History of American Indians, page 6. Now let's go to 1 Chronicles 12 and 8 about the tribe of Gad. It says, and of the Gadites, there separated themselves unto David into the whole to the wilderness men of might, men of war fit for the battle that could handle the shield and buckler, whose faces were like the faces of lions. Remember, James Adair said they resembled a lynx. A lynx is a feline animal, just like a lion is. And were swift as the roes upon the mountains. What did James Adair purport? He says they are exceedingly swift of foot, especially in a long chase. So these Indians were known to be super fast, okay? Incredibly fast. And that's the same attribute that's given in the Book of Chronicles regarding the Gadites. They were swift as roes upon the mountains. Showing you there's credence to our claims. First of all, and another disclaimer, we're not discounting the fact that the Igbos, the sons of Erie, that live in Igbo land or Nigeria are not Gad. They are Gad. Matter of fact, many of them were sold over here with their brothers, the North American Indians, during the slave trade. Okay? They're Gad, the Native Indians are Gad. I mean, the North American Native Indians are Gad. I mean, there's no dispute there. But some of you guys cannot allow that to coexist. Your mind doesn't work that way. Oh, one has to be false, one has to be real. They're both real. They're both authentic. Here at Genesis 49ers, we advocate for the Indians as much as we advocate for the West Africans. And also the the Falasha Jews, guess what? They're Israelites. They come from the tribe of Dan. I bet you didn't guess that was going to come out of my mouth, but they are from the tribe of Dan. Eldad the Danite, sidebar, Eldad the Danite talks about these tribes inhabiting the east part of Africa. But anyway, let's get back into this lesson. Let's deal with these bones. It says, then they carefully placed the bones in a kind of small chest in a natural order, that they may with ease and certainty be sometime afterward reunited. The History of American Indians, page 192. Now let's get the custom from the Bible. Joshua 24, verse 32. And the bones of Joseph, which the children of Israel brought up out of Egypt, buried they in Shechem, in a parcel of ground which Jacob bought of the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver, and it became the inheritance of the children of Joseph. So you can see the same custom recorded in the Bible, that you know that these native Indians were following Israelite customs, even in their burial. Swine. Now, we're going to show you that the Native American Indians, or the First Nationers, did not eat swine or the pork or pig. When swine were first brought among them, they deemed it such a horrid abomination in any of their people to eat that filthy and impure food. The History of American Indians, page 140. Now, here's the scripture, Leviticus 11, verse 7. And the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Now, I want to do a sidebar on this as well. All you fake pseudo-Christians out there that's following Constantine's version of Christianity, you claim that you love your neighbor and you love yourself. You do not love yourself if you're out there eating pork and you're teaching somebody else or purporting that it doesn't matter what they put in their body. When we know these are all types of 70 diseases are attached to this type of meat. But you're going to tell, oh, it's okay. Go ahead and get high blood pressure. Go ahead and get worms. It don't matter. Parasites. We don't care. That's not loving your neighbor as you love yourself. And you don't love yourself. Just a quick sidebar for any of you pseudo-Christians that might be watching. Hopefully you learn something and you wake up. Again, they reckon all those animals to be unclean that are either carnivorous or live on nasty food as hogs, wolves, panthers, foxes, cats, mice, and rats. History of American Indians, page 139, Leviticus 11, 46 and 47. This is the law of the beasts and of the fowl and of every living creature that moveth in the waters and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beasts that they may be eaten and the beasts that may not be eaten. The native Indians kept this structure as well. It was observed and written down by James Adair. More on the dietary. None of them will eat any animal whatsoever if they either know or suspect that it died of itself. The History of American Indians, page 137. Deuteronomy 14:21. Here it is in the law, in the Torah, in the Bible. It says, ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it. Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, for thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe the kid in his mother's milk. And that's talking about a goat, a baby goat. You're not supposed to cook it and eat it when it's a child, when it's still on its mother's milk. But the main point was the animal dying of itself. It was a customary trait of us to not eat that. We'll give it to a stranger or alien. The law of separation, here it is. It says, when the time of a woman's separation is ended, they always purify themselves in deep running water, return home, dress, and anoint themselves. They ascribe these monthly periods to the female structure, not to the anger of Ishtoholo Abba, which they use Abba, which is just like Abba, father, in their language, which he does a lot. I didn't put in these slides. He does a lot of linguistic comparative analysis in his book as well. The History of the American Indians, page 130, Leviticus 15 and 19 is where it's written in Torah or the law or the Bible. And if a woman have an issue and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean unto even. So they practiced separation of the woman while she was on her flower. That can be found amongst the Native Indians. We'll find a lot of Hebraic traits amongst them. This cannot be a coincidence, especially that Genesis 32:32, the sinews, the law of the sinews. They take the hollow of the thigh and they throw it away. They don't eat it. Why? That's a custom that was passed down from Israel, from Jacob, our father. Here's the crescent moon, which is the new moon, the first slither. It says they begin a year at the first appearance of the first new moon of the vernal equinox. Meaning in spring, the green-eared moon is the most beloved or sacred. The History of American Indians, page 80. That's a Hebraic custom as well. We know the month of Abib starts the year for our Israelite ancestors, for us. Exodus 12:2. This month shall be unto the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. And what month did they leave Egypt? Was in the month of Abib, in springtime. That's the first month. Not January. Springtime. That's the first month. The first fruits. It is fresh in the memory of the old traders that formerly none of these numerous nations of Indians would eat or even handle any part of the harvest till some of it had been offered up at a yearly festival by the Archimagus. The History of the American Indians, page 107. And we're going to get the scripture to back that up and what they're doing, showing the analysis that they're comparative and that they're similar. Proverbs 3 and 9. Honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruits of all thine increase. So they practice the first fruits. Esau, here we go. Now, a lot of y'all watching, watch my video breakdown of Esau, what you say, oh, Esau is the Arab. When the reason behind Esau being an Arab, this is a sidebar, this is not even on topic, is that, his land is in Saudi Arabia. No, it's not. It's right below Israel. And those Edomites that were in that land were moved out of that land by Simeon. So many different proponents and events of history show you that they were moving out of that land, and the Nabateans came in and took them out of that land in the 3rd century BC. I can do a video as long as an hour to 2 hours explaining all that they were migrating out of that land in Macedon, Greece. You name it. Edomites going to Italy. I've done videos on that. But anyway, it's a very interesting view the native Indians had for these pale skinned, what you will call the white man, quote unquote. This is the view they had for them. It says, but the Indians are so prepossessed with a notion of the white people being all impure and of curse, as Josephus tells us that the Jews reckon that of the Greeks. Why? Because at that time, the Greeks, like Antiochus and Ptolemaios, they were Edomites. And the History of the American Indians, page 115, is where you can find this. Let's go to Malachi 1 and 4 and see what it says about Edom. It says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord have an indignation forever. That sounds like an impure and cursed people. A border of wickedness, and the Lord has indignation against them forever. Then that's how the native Indians felt the attitude towards the quote-unquote white settlers was. Which, could you blame them? They're coming in your land, pillaging, telling you what to do. This is your own land, and killing your women, your children, enslaving you. The diurnal or the daily practices. It says the Indians have a similar religious service. The Indian women always throw a small piece of the fattest of the meat into the fire when they are eating, and frequently before they begin to eat. The Indian men observe the daily sacrifice both at home and in the woods with new killed venison. And that's History of American Indians, page 121. Again, this whole presentation is centered around this book by James Adair. Why? Because he lived amongst these native Indians for around roughly 40 years. So if anybody would know and be the authority of this native Indian history, it would be him, because he sat there and observed their language, their customs, and their rites. Numbers 29 verse 6. Beside the burnt offering of the month and his meat offering and the daily burnt offering. These native Indians were keeping a daily offering. It is meat offering and drink offering according unto their manner for a sweet savior, a sacrifice made by fire unto the Lord. And that's what these native Indians doing, a daily sacrifice. You can find it amongst their customs. Here we go. We have the Ark of the Covenant. It says, it is also highly worthy of notice that they never place the ark on the ground, nor sit on the bare earth while they are carrying it against the enemy. The History of American Indians, page 169, 2 Samuel 6, verses 6 through 7. It says, when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Usai put forth his hand to the ark of the God and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it. Why did Usai do that? Because it was a customary trait that we will not allow the ark to touch the ground. So he saw the oxen shake it a little bit. He was like, oh, snap, it's about to fall. He tried to grab it and secure it, but we know that was his detriment. Because next verse says, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Usai, and God smote him there for his error. There he died by the ark of God, which just scared the hell out of David, if you're familiar with the story. Read 2 Samuel 6 in totality, you're going to see it scared David. And David was very scared of the Most High. after that because he seen he was serious and he meant what he said. We got to get back to that. We got to see that the grave attitude of our Father in heaven is real, right? And we got to start respecting what's written in the Bible and start keeping our customs as Israelites. You blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are truly the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. These laws, statutes, and commandments are made for you. And guess what? And the whole world is going to have to bow down to these laws. Okay, this is going to govern the whole world when Christ returns. But again, you can see the customary trait amongst the Native Indians. They would not allow the ark to touch the ground. And they had an ark too that was basically a replica of this ark. And they kept, it was customary for them not to let it touch the ground. Final slide. The Natik or Anitik Yah signifies a fast day because they were then humbly to say Ah and afflict their souls before Yah. The history of American Indians, page 62. Leviticus 23, 27, 28. Also on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, meaning a gathering. And you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And you shall do no work in the same day, for it is a day of atonement to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. So they were afflicting their souls. How? By not eating any food or water or drinking any water for a 24-hour period of time, sunset to sunset. That's what these Native Indians were doing. They called it Nitek Ya'ah, which is a fast day for them that they did annually. It's recorded in James Adair's book, The History of American Indians. If you haven't purchased this book, I highly recommend you get this book. It's very informative. Sit down and read and digest the information on the traits. Basically, just gave you a taste of what's in the book. I was given the most adequate information out of here that I could show and prove that these Native Indians are, in fact, Israelites, because there's no other way they could have all of these customs and not be. Come on, again, Genesis 32 and 32, something that particular. Come on, they have to be Israelites. They are the Israelites. That's why I enjoy this book thoroughly. We brought up Genesis 32 and 32, their fast rites, the cities of refuge, the law of raising seed, the Yehovah Shah, the not eating blood, the keeping of the Sabbath, the naming of Kanai, and many, many more that they're showing that they're not Chinese, how they match the description that's found in 1 Chronicles 12 and 8 of them being swift and having a face of a lion, not eating swine, dietary laws, how they bury their bones, how they take care of that, fast days. We showed you all that. And yet, you're still going to get people in the comments basically badmouthing the video, even though they probably didn't even watch the first 2 minutes. Probably watch the first 2 minutes, get mad, go in the comments, and then, you try to rip this video apart, but you didn't even critique it perfectly or righteously. Because the scripture says, how you gonna judge something without hearing it first? Understand first, then judge. Look at the information. Look at the evidence. It's overwhelming. You can clearly see the parallels between the Hebraic traditions that we find in Torah, the Bible, etc., and the Native Indian traditions. With that, I'm going to conclude the lesson. I pray that this was a very inspiring class for any Native Indians that may be watching, that you're able to see that your nationality is in the Bible and that you are an Israelite, or any other viewer that may be watching. Shout out to the subscribers. We're at 994 subscribers, and I'm reaching the goal that I wanted. So all praises to the Most High. I said 1,000 by the end of the year. When I said the end of the year, I meant December, because we know our year doesn't end or begin until March, April, around there in spring. So I'm very happy to see the results coming in, and that brothers and sisters are enjoying the information on the channel. Many, many more videos will come out, more informative videos. So if you love the information, you love the presentations that I present to you guys on the Israelites and on the historical accounts, keep subscribing, keep liking the videos, comment down below if you agree or disagree. If you disagree, do it respectfully. and there will be no problems. Just do it respectfully. A lot of people, they don't know how to do that. You have to cuss. You have to call me the N-word. You have to do all that. If you have to do that, then you don't have a point. There's nothing valid. But I appreciate all the love that brothers and sisters have been showing my channel. Shout out to Maccabees TV. I got to do another video for them because they show me love all the time. So do another video for them exclusively so we can get it uploaded over there. Again, thank you, and thank you for the subscriber base. Almost 1,000. I appreciate it. I'm going to put in work into this channel. You're going to see more videos like this. If you have any suggestions, just drop them below on the comments. Share this video. Share these videos on the social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Drop a like down. If you have any topics that you want me to cover, comment down below. If it's a good fit for the channel, I will cover it. I will look into it. My next video, I'm planning on doing when Scotland was Jewish, or I'm going to give you the history of Thanksgiving and how that became customary amongst the early Americans, how they would celebrate the defeat and massacre of many native Indians. They would have feasts every time they did it. So be on the lookout for that. More videos coming soon. Genesis 49ers. Y'all know the slogan. We say no to vague interpretations, and we give thorough breakdowns. That's what this channel is for. So if you're not like, if you don't like that, you don't like thorough breakdowns, you want vague stuff, then this channel's not going to be for you. But we're here to thoroughly break down these topics so you can get the meat.